Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. Today we're going to unlock something that might sound like a boring school subject, but it's actually a complete real-world superpower: everyday math. Specifically, we're diving into the ultimate financial hero's guide to comparing quantities. Because whether you're hunting for the absolute best shopping deal, trying to figure out if a business actually made money, or just looking at how a bank loan works, it literally all comes down to mastering a few core concepts. Okay, let's dive into this. Here's a quick roadmap for today. We'll start with the power of comparing, then move to percentages, calculating discounts and deals, understanding profit and loss, and finally, we'll wrap up with simple interest.
All right, let's kick things off with Section 1, the power of comparing. Think about it. We compare stuff literally every single day. You do it when you order food and compare prices, when you're looking at different TV features on a 20,000 rupee budget, or when you're just checking if your grades went up. But sometimes, a quick glance, it doesn't always tell us the whole truth. Let's look at a totally relatable scenario. Picture two friends, Rita and Anu. They just got their term exam results back, and they're eagerly comparing their marks to see who had the better academic performance. But there's a catch here that makes things a little complicated.
So, Rita scored 450 marks, Anu scored 425. Now, if we just look at the raw numbers, well, 450 is obviously bigger than 425, right? So Rita did better? Actually, scratch that. Look closely at the total marks. Rita got 450 out of 600, while Anu got 425 out of 500. They took exams with different maximum scores. It's completely like comparing apples to oranges here. We can't decide who actually did better just by eyeballing these raw numbers. We need a mathematical equalizer. Which brings us nicely to Section 2, percentages, our universal translator. To solve this whole dilemma with Rita and Anu, we need to bring in that ultimate mathematical equalizer. I like to call it our universal translator, the percentage. Now, the word percentage actually comes from the Latin phrase percentum, which quite literally translates to per hundred. So whenever you see that little percent symbol, I want you to instantly think out of 100. Essentially, a percentage is just a fraction where the denominator, the bottom number, is always exactly 100. It gives us this perfect common baseline to compare absolutely anything. Let's put that into perspective. Imagine there are exactly 100 children in a library. If 34 of them are from Class 5, 26 are from Class 6, and 40 are from Class 7, well, calculating the percentage is a piece of cake. Because our total is already 100, the fraction of Class 5 students is simply 34 over 100, and that instantly translates to a clean 34%. Notice how easily the different parts of the whole come together when we measure them on this shared scale of 100. But what if your total isn't exactly 100, like those exam scores? We can break this down into a super simple three-step process. First, express your quantity as a fraction of the total whole. Second, multiply that fraction by 100. Third, just slap on that percent sign. So, let's go solve our mystery. Rita's fraction was 450 over 600. Multiply by 100, boom, 75%. Anu's fraction was 425 over 500. Multiply by 100, and you get 85%. Suddenly, the truth comes out. Anu actually performed significantly better, even though she had the lower raw score. Pretty cool, right?
Moving right along to Section 3, calculating discounts and deals.
Okay, now that we've unlocked percentages, let's take this superpower out of the classroom and straight to the shopping mall. Let's talk consumer finance, calculating discounts, and actually finding the best deals. Picture this. Akshay is at a store staring at a toy he really wants. The price tag says 600 rupees. But he checks his wallet and he's only got 500 on him. Bummer. It looks like he's going home empty-handed. But wait, there's a giant sign in the window advertising a 25% discount on all purchases. So the big question is, does Akshay actually have enough money to buy the toy now?
To figure this out, we have to calculate the discount amount. Now, what's really interesting about this process is how incredibly logical the steps are. We take our 25% discount and convert it right back to a fraction, 25 over 100. Then we multiply that by the original price of $600. So 25 over 100 times 600 equals 150. That means the store is knocking $150 off the price. Finally, we just subtract that discount from the original cost. 600 minus 150
leaves us with $450. The final selling price of the toy is $450, and since Akshay has $500 in his wallet, he absolutely has enough cash to buy it with 50 bucks left over for a snack. This right here is the real practical power of knowing how to calculate percentages on the fly.
All right, let's hit Section 4, understanding profit and loss.
Let's completely flip the script for a second. We just looked at things from the buyer's perspective.
Now step into the shoes of the seller. If you're running a business, you aren't just looking for deals, you're trying to sustain a living. And every single transaction boils down to two key numbers: the cost price, or CP, which is what the seller pays to buy or make the item. Then there's the selling price, or SP, which is what they actually charge the customer. If your cost price is less than your selling price, awesome, you make a profit. If the cost price is greater than the selling price, yeah, unfortunately, you took a loss. And if they're exactly the same, you just break even. No profit, no loss.
Just like those test scores we saw earlier, business owners use percentages to compare how well they're really doing. Let's look at an example from our source material. Two friends, Anu and Akshay, both ran small businesses, and they both lost exactly $4. Sounds identical, right? Well, Anu bought a crayon for $20 and lost $4. If we put her loss over her cost price, 4 over 20, times 100, she actually suffered a massive 20% loss. Meanwhile, Akshay bought a book for $200 and lost $4. His loss over his cost price, 4 over 200, times 100, is only a 2% loss. The raw number was exactly the same, but the percentage tells the true story of the business impact.
So, the crucial point here is a trap so many people fall into. When you are calculating your profit percentage or your loss percentage, your denominator, your baseline, must absolutely always be the cost price, period. Never ever use the selling price to calculate your profit or loss percentage. Always base it on what the item originally cost you. It's a golden rule.
And finally, Section 5, Simple Interest.
We've mastered fractions, discounts, and business profits. Now, let's introduce a totally new dimension: time. Let's look at simple interest, which is really the engine behind how banking and loans work. But before we do the math, we need to get the vocabulary straight. When you borrow money from a bank or park your money in a savings account, that initial chunk of cash is called the principal, marked with a capital P. Interest is the fee charged for borrowing that money, or the reward the bank gives you for keeping it with them. And the amount? That's simply the grand total, the principal plus the interest combined. And this brilliantly illustrates how it all comes together into one super elegant equation. Simple interest, or SI, equals the principal multiplied by the rate of interest multiplied by the time in years, all divided by 100. P times R times T over 100. I know it looks a little bit like alphabet soup, but trust me, it's incredibly easy to use. Let's test it out. Say you borrow a principal of 2,000 rupees. The bank charges a rate of 10% per year, and you borrow it for a time of 1 year. We just plug those exact numbers into our formula. 2,000 times 10 times 1, which is 20,000. Divide that whole thing by 100, and boom, you get 200 rupees. That 200 rupees is your simple interest. It means at the end of the year, you have to pay the bank back the original 2,000 rupees plus the $200 interest for a grand total amount of 2,200 rupees. Simple, right?
And just like that, you have completely leveled up. From realizing that raw test scores can be totally misleading, to calculating exact discounts on your favorite stuff, protecting business profit margins, and even decoding bank loans, you now have the exact formulas to decode the world around you. You already compare quantities every single day. So what does this all mean? The real question is, are you ready to use these new everyday math superpowers to make smarter, faster, and just better real-world decisions? Thank you so much for joining me in this explainer, and I seriously can't wait to see how you apply all of this out there in the real world.